The Galactic Empire patrol ship drifted along the rim of the Sol system with the lazy confidence of a creature that had never been bitten. Its metallic hull reflected the pale shimmer of Saturn's rings, a gleaming predator lounging between meals. Inside, the crew operated with the arrogant rhythm of soldiers assigned to a species they believed too emotional, too fragile, too human to be dangerous. The ranking officer, a tall, violet-skinned Vorthan, tapped a claw on the console as he watched Earth's distant blue dot. "Strange little world," he muttered. "They cry when they watch entertainment broadcasts. Their food is spicy enough to melt metal plating. I fail to understand how they evolved without self-destructing." His younger subordinate snorted. "They once declared war over the name of a sandwich." The officers laughed, echoing clicks bouncing off steel walls. They did not know the universe was, at that very moment, preparing to introduce them to a woman who could make galaxies kneel with a single breath. The human cargo shuttle that broke the calm arrived without flourish, engines sputtering in the emptiness. It drifted into the Empire's restricted zone by a margin of only a few kilometers, the kind of human mistake born from outdated navigation systems and a pilot humming country music instead of checking star charts. Inside the shuttle sat an engineer, Elias Calloway, a quiet man with a fondness for oversized sweaters and taking pictures of sunsets. He wasn't military. He wasn't dangerous. He was simply traveling home after a 3-week contract job on a research satellite, worried he'd forgotten to water the basil plant his wife loved more than most people. Elias didn't even see the Empire ship appear on his scanner. He only had time to look up, eyes widening, when the patrol commander declared with cold ceremony that his ship had violated sovereign space. A flash. A tremor. A bloom of light. Then nothing but dust drifting across the void. The Empire logged the event, labeled it routine neutralization, and carried on as though they had merely stepped on an insect. News reached Earth before the ash cooled. The Federation Council received the report in a stark, white chamber where every heartbeat felt like thunder. Advisors argued, analysts panicked, and diplomats drafted statements drenched in careful restraint. Humanity had changed since first contact, becoming polite, measured, seemingly docile, but every species that learned the lessons of Earth's history understood one unwritten rule: do not touch someone humans love. The Federation responded with the gentlest message they had ever sent. "We are saddened by this unfortunate misunderstanding. Please remain stationed while we verify details." For the Empire, this was proof that humans feared them. For humanity, it was the final breath before the storm. Mara Calloway received the message in a silent room, bathed in Titan's pale golden glow. She sat on a steel bench, polishing the long, elegant barrel of her sniper rifle. An antique modern hybrid she and her husband built together over 6 evenings filled with laughter and arguments about paint colors. When the notification chimed, she paused, wiped her hands, and opened it. The screen displayed the Empire's transmission with sterile detachment. Unauthorized human vessel neutralized. Civilian casualty confirmed. Her expression did not crumble. Her voice did not shake. She simply blinked once, as though someone had closed a door behind her. Mara was known across Earth's defense network for her unshakable calm. She spoke softly, smiled gently, and carried a quiet kindness that made soldiers feel safe. But beneath that calm lived a mind sharper than tungsten, a tactician who saw solutions in angles, in timing, in the way light curved around metal. She whispered, "Elias," just once. Then she exhaled, and the breath felt like the universe shifting onto new rails. Hours later, she stood inside the neutral diplomatic chamber, a place designed to appear comfortable but failing spectacularly. Aliens from 9 species filled the room, chattering with smug confidence. Empire representatives lounged at the center table, their arrogance dense enough to choke on. Mara arrived last, wearing a simple black uniform with her badge clipped neatly over her heart. She greeted them with a warm nod. "Thank you for meeting on such short notice. I appreciate your cooperation." Her voice was honeyed, gentle, almost disarming. Several aliens visibly relaxed. One Vorthan leaned down to whisper to another, "See? Soft. Predictable." Mara pretended not to hear. She folded her hands behind her back, posture relaxed, as though she wasn't memorizing every exit route, every unguarded weapon, every blinking indicator that revealed how their shield systems rotated. She asked polite questions about patrol routes, firing protocols, and navigational sensors, smiling as she claimed she wanted closure. The aliens, charmed by her friendliness, answered with condescending delight. They thought her harmless, a widow soothing herself with meaningless details. Only one alien elder watched her closely, antenna trembling. Something about her stillness unnerved him. As the conversation carried on, Mara drifted close to a holographic map of the Empire's border fleets. Her eyes traced each glowing symbol with quiet focus. "Your patrol coverage is impressive," she said softly. "Such efficient formations. My husband would have admired them." Her voice didn't waver on the word husband, but a thin crack lived beneath it, a ghost of something deep. The elder's instincts prickled. He leaned forward. "Human woman," he asked carefully, "why do you smile when you speak of him?" Mara lifted her gaze. Her eyes were clear, warm, and impossibly calm. "Because he hated when I got angry," she replied. "I'm trying to honor that." But anger curled beneath the softness, hidden like a blade tucked inside velvet. She bowed politely, thanked them again, and turned to leave the chamber. Each step echoed like the ticking of an unseen clock. The Empire representatives returned to their chatter, unaware that she'd memorized the frequency of their shield modulation, the blind angle in their sensor array, and the insignia of the officer who ordered her husband's death. She walked out into Titan's cold air, letting the artificial wind brush against her cheek. Far below, the planet swirled in golden haze. Mara closed her eyes and inhaled, letting her thoughts settle into a precise line. She remembered Elias laughing as he spilled paint on their kitchen floor, remembered the way he always squinted when reading star charts, remembered his promise that one day they'd retire somewhere quiet. Soft memories. Gentle ones. They made her shoulders straighten, not bend. A small, almost tender smile touched her lips. "You always said I was dramatic," she whispered. "Maybe you were right." She lifted her comm device and sent one message to Earth Command. "I'm requesting immediate operational clearance." She didn't give a reason. She didn't need to. Command approved within seconds. Behind her, a pair of Titan security officers stepped out into the hallway. One frowned. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Mara looked over her shoulder with a calmness too perfect to be ordinary. "Of course. Thank you for asking." But the officer noticed something. The slight tension in her jaw, the subtle shift in her voice, the look of someone who wasn't breaking, but becoming something sharper. Something decisive. Something dangerous. By the time the doors slid shut behind her, the officer was already murmuring to his partner, "Why is she smiling like that?" Mara walked toward the launch bay, each step deliberate, each breath measured. She didn't run. She didn't rush. She simply moved with quiet purpose, as if guided by a steady internal compass. She passed a window overlooking the dark stretch of space where her husband had died. She stopped. For a moment, she let the silence settle around her. She placed one hand gently against the glass, fingers steady, eyes unblinking. "You shouldn't have touched him," she whispered, not to her husband, but to the Empire. Not a threat. Not yet. Just a promise shaped like a vow. Because in that still moment, the galaxy hadn't realized something crucial. Mara Calloway wasn't on the path to revenge. She was on the path to war, and she had already taken her first step. The Empire's soldiers had a talent for arrogance, but even they could sense when a whisper of unease slithered through their perfect confidence. Mara Calloway's silence had become that whisper, subtle, persistent, and sharp enough to make the back of an alien neck prickle without knowing why. On the Empire's border stations, officers reviewed her recorded statements with amused disbelief. "She is polite," one noted, tapping a claw against the screen. "Humans are usually louder when grieving." Another shrugged. "Perhaps her brain is protecting itself. Biological fragility." They comforted themselves with that assumption, unaware she was already moving. Mara's shuttle left Titan under the disguise of a sanctioned recon survey. She sat in the cockpit with her hands resting lightly on the controls, her breathing steady. Her rifle, dismantled into 12 perfect pieces, lay inside a compact case at her feet. The starlight reflected in her eyes as she plotted a course not toward safety, but toward the Empire's nearest outpost. She reviewed the personnel logs she had extracted during her diplomatic conversation. Every officer's face appeared for half a second before she dismissed it, searching only for the one who mattered, the one who had issued the firing command. A cold, precise calm anchored her thoughts. "You always hated when I held grudges," she murmured, adjusting her trajectory by a fraction. "I guess we'll call this closure." The shuttle glided silently across the black expanse. Her mind moved faster than her engines. She calculated distances, shield pulse timings, rotation cycles, things she had absorbed effortlessly since childhood. Elias used to joke that she saw the universe like a giant algebra problem dressed in glitter. The memory tightened her chest, but she forced her pulse to remain steady. Feeling could come later. Accuracy had to come now. In a far sector, the Empire's chatter grew restless. Analysts attempted to understand recent shifts in human communication behavior. "They are too quiet," a Vorthan scientist whispered, pressing trembling fingers to his crest. "Humans do not stay silent when harmed. They escalate." His superior dismissed him. "Their behavior is predictable. Loss weakens them." Yet even he avoided the playback of Mara's smile. Something in it made his mandibles lock involuntarily. "Soft," he muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. Mara's shuttle slowed as she approached a lonely communications array orbiting a dwarfed red star. This outpost had little strategic value, which made it perfect. Few guards. Large blind spots. And most importantly, an officer with a familiar insignia stationed temporarily for health recovery. Commander Dravik, the one who had ordered the attack without even attempting contact. The log of his voice played softly in Mara's cabin. "Neutralize the vessel. Human reaction is irrelevant." She paused the recording, staring at the frozen waveforms. "You're right," she murmured. "Irrelevant. But consequences aren't." She activated her EVA suit, slipped silently through the airlock, and stepped into the cold vacuum like it was a well-lit hallway. The magnetic grips of her boots touched the metal surface of the outpost with a soft clink. She moved gracefully, each step calculated. No wasted motion. No wasted breath. She approached a maintenance hatch, twisted a panel, and eased herself inside with the familiarity of someone who had broken into places that never expected to see her shadow. The maintenance corridor glowed a faint blue, humming with the slow rhythm of machines that believed themselves undisturbed. Mara assembled her rifle with practiced precision, each piece sliding into place as though eager to serve. She lingered on the final piece, the stabilizing module Elias had crafted by hand. His initials were carved subtly along the edge. She touched them once, gently, then locked the module in place. The click echoed like a heartbeat. Inside the outpost, alien officers chatted lazily. Dravik stood near a wide observation window, bragging about the disciplinary strike he had delivered. "The humans have spirit, I admit," he smirked, swirling a drink with one claw. "But in the end, they fold with charming predictability." His companions laughed. One asked, "Do you think they will retaliate?" Dravik scoffed. "Humans retaliate emotionally, not strategically. They lash out like wounded cubs." He raised his glass. "To the soft-boned species that—" He never finished. A silent flash cut through the room as the window behind him cracked in a perfect circle the width of a coin. A beam, a single impossibly precise beam, punched through his chest. He crumpled before his glass hit the floor. The room erupted in chaos. Alarms shrieked. Officers scrambled. But panic does not outrun a sniper who has already moved. Mara retracted her rifle with seamless speed, slung it across her back, and slipped deeper into the ventilation network. She did not rejoice. She did not linger. She simply breathed once and moved on. Her objective wasn't death, it was message. And message delivered. The Empire's emergency transmissions flooded the sector. Unidentified long-range attack. Unknown shooter, direction impossible, repeat, impossible. A communications officer replayed the trajectory analysis, disbelief twisting his features. "This is wrong," he said, voice trembling. "No weapon can fire with this precision from outside the station." His superior leaned in slowly, dread visible even through his metallic facial plating. "You are thinking in Empire logic," he whispered. "Stop. Think in human logic." Across space, Mara's shuttle merged with the drifting shadows of an asteroid cluster. She sat in the pilot's seat, breathing slow, allowing the last vestiges of tension to dissolve. Her expression remained calm, but something in her posture shifted. Less weight on her shoulders now, but more direction. Dravik had been step one. Not of revenge. Of strategy. Back on the outpost, the Empire's High Council convened in frantic urgency. Footage of Dravik's death played across the chamber. The shot had carved through armor, bone, and circuitry without leaving scorch marks. "This was not a typical retaliation," an elder rasped. "This was a demonstration." Another alien trembled. "Who fired it? A ship? A drone?" Silence answered. All eyes turned toward the screenshot captured milliseconds before impact. A faint reflection in the glass, a silhouette standing against the stars. Humanoid. Still. Composed. "Is that the widow?" Someone whispered. Meanwhile, Mara docked at a hidden human relay platform. Technicians met her with anxious relief. "Captain Calloway, we saw the Empire signals." "Did you?" "Yes," she replied, voice soft but steady. "Begin Phase 2 preparations." The chief technician hesitated. "Ma'am, are you sure?" Mara looked at him, her expression carrying both gentleness and something unyieldingly sharp. "They killed my husband. But that's not why we move now. They crossed a line they didn't know existed. We're acting for more than him." She paused. "Humanity's done being underestimated." The technician swallowed. "Understood." She moved toward the observation deck, watching the Empire outpost flicker frantically across space. Her reflection in the glass looked calm. Too calm. Elias would have teased her for that. "You look like you're planning to overthrow a small moon," he would have said, laughing. She blinked away the ache. Grief and strategy coexisted uneasily, but both pushed her forward. And in the Empire's capital, fear finally began to bloom. Officers whispered about the widow, who smiled while planning. About the silent strike that broke their understanding of physics. About humanity's strange blend of politeness and lethality. "If this is one woman," a council member murmured, trembling, "what happens if the rest of them stand with her?" Back at the relay station, Mara calibrated her rifle for the next phase. Her hands remained steady, but her heartbeat carried a quiet determination. For the first time since Elias' death, she whispered something not to him, but to herself. "This isn't revenge," she said softly. "It's correction." Then she activated a covert channel, one that linked directly to Earth's classified operations grid. Her voice came out gentle, almost warm. "Prepare the field," she said. "The Empire is about to learn what precision truly looks like." The Empire's capital world had never known quiet. It thrummed with the layered voices of 9 species, the rumble of hover caravans, and the ceaseless hum of bureaucracy. Yet now, for the first time in centuries, silence clung to the halls like frost. Counselors stared at the tactical holomap that displayed the impossible. A string of precision strikes across 3 star systems, each executed with clean, surgical elegance. Not a fleet. Not an army. Not even a task force. A single human, one widow, moving with the calm certainty of someone walking through her own home. The council chamber vibrated with fear disguised as debate. "Humans were said to be emotional," one senator muttered, claws tapping the desk. "This one acts like a machine." Another corrected in a shivering whisper. "No. Machines malfunction under pressure. Humans improvise." Their voices trembled as another attack alert pinged across the screen, showing an entire weapons grid collapsing without casualties, as though the attacker had politely chosen to disable rather than destroy. And in a way she had. They simply didn't understand why. Mara Calloway drifted through the dark corridors of an abandoned listening post, her boots brushing faint streaks of dust that hadn't been disturbed in years. She welcomed the quiet. It gave her room to think. She had always been gentle in the way she carried her thoughts, the way she weighed decisions, but now her mind moved with polished intent, sharpening each conclusion. Elias would have worried. He used to tell her that her silence meant she was preparing to redecorate the moral landscape. She smiled faintly at the memory. Her fingers tightened slightly on the rifle slung over her shoulder. Every strike she had made so far had been symbolic, not vindictive. She targeted systems, not lives. She dismantled pride, not infrastructure. Because revenge was too small for what she was building. She needed the Empire to understand the scale of its mistake, not through terror, but through unmistakable clarity. They had erased one gentle man, and in doing so, awakened a force that didn't need anger to be unstoppable. In the shadowed depths of their intelligence headquarters, Empire analysts replayed Mara's infiltration footage frame by frame. They observed her deliberate posture, her measured movements, the stillness in her expression that looked nothing like rage and everything like inevitability. Humans typically escalate emotionally, one analyst whispered. Her calm is the escalation, another said, dread hollowing his voice. A senior tactician rubbed the ridges of his temple. This widow is operating on a level we've never mapped. Another screen flashed to life, showing sensor logs from 3 distant colonies, each revealing faint traces of unauthorized presence. All subtle. All efficient. All human. What does she want? A young strategist asked. The room fell into strained silence until an elder answered. She wants us to realize we cannot hide behind our own arrogance. And that was true. Mara wasn't chasing officers anymore. She wasn't hunting individuals. She was letting the Empire come to the exact conclusion she needed. That they were outmatched by something they didn't understand. Mara reached the heart of the listening post, where a dormant console flickered to life as she connected her device. The interface glowed blue against her face, outlining the calm ferocity in her features. She uploaded a message designed not for humans, but for alien ears, measured in tone, polite in language, unshakable in intent. When the transmission reached the Empire's War Council, they watched her hologram materialize before them. Her posture was relaxed, hands loosely clasped in front of her, expression soft, almost apologetic. I don't wish to harm your people, she began, her voice carrying the unsettling sincerity of someone stating a simple fact. But you've mistaken quiet for weakness. You've mistaken courtesy for surrender. You've mistaken my grief for instability. Her gaze sharpened with gentle precision. You shouldn't have touched him. But now that you have, I need you to listen very carefully. No threats. No yelling. Just a calm woman explaining the truth, as though she were reading instructions from a manual. The council listened, transfixed and terrified. After the message ended, panic erupted. She infiltrated one of our secure posts. She projects herself across our systems. She is everywhere at once. She's human. Someone barked, as though that clarified anything. But it did. It clarified everything. Their intelligence director slammed a fist on the table. This is no longer about the widow. This is about the species behind her. He pulled up a wide-range scan. Human behavior has patterns we misread. We assumed their unpredictability was weakness. The elder senator inhaled sharply. It is strategy. They watched Mara's previous strikes play on loop, systemic, symbolic, precise. Each attack had been a correction, not a statement. She is not trying to win, the senator whispered. She's preparing the field. That realization rippled through the chamber, cold and immediate. The Empire had always believed humans were reactive. Instead, they were architectural. Far from their panic, Mara stood at the threshold of a cracked observation dome, watching a red dwarf star pulse in slow, tired beats. She let the quiet settle around her, examining her next moves. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't chasing closure. She was waiting for alignment, the moment when the Empire would be confused enough, frightened enough, destabilized enough to open the door she needed. She whispered to the emptiness. This isn't about revenge, Elias. It's about truth. Her grip on the rifle loosened slightly as she breathed in. She knew what would come next. The Empire would push toward negotiation, but not because they wanted peace. Because they were afraid of the alternative. And that was what she needed. Their fear wasn't her goal, it was her tool. Her comm device chimed softly. A coded message from Earth Command appeared as a single line. Phase threshold reached. Awaiting confirmation. She exhaled slowly. Her eyes lingered on the message, expression unreadable. Earth wasn't reacting emotionally either. They were responding strategically, intelligently, collectively. Humanity had watched her moves and understood the pattern. This wasn't one widow acting alone. This was coordination. This was orchestration. This was the shift from personal loss to species-wide intention. The listening post echoed with the faint hum of old machines as she typed her reply. She hesitated only once, not from doubt, but from gravity. Her message was short, almost gentle. Begin alignment. Her hand lowered. Her heartbeat remained steady. And in the heart of the Empire's capital, alarms triggered one by one as their entire border grid detected something massive. Something cloaked, moving into position behind them. The council froze, breath caught mid-sentence. A single word flickered across their tactical display, human-coded, polite, and terrifying. Hello. The Empire had prepared for invasions before, but nothing in its long, confident history resembled the silence that now descended on its capital. The tactical screens filled with warnings no one understood, mass displacement waves, gravity shadows bending around invisible structures, encrypted human signatures blooming like constellations across the Empire's blind side. The council chamber vibrated with tense murmurs. What are they doing? Someone whispered, voice cracking. Another responded, they're not attacking. They're surrounding us. A realization tightened the air. Humans weren't here for retaliation. They were here for precision. And that, more than any weapon, terrified them. Far from the panic, Mara Calloway stood on the hull of a stealth vessel, her magnetic boots anchoring her against the pull of a nearby moon. Stars burned cold around her, as she gazed toward the pale arc of the Empire's homeworld. Her visor displayed the shifting patterns of the human fleet, vessels woven into a net so intricate it looked like the skeleton of a colossal creature circling its prey. Elias would have loved the symmetry. He used to say she arranged battle plans the way artists arrange paint strokes, with stubborn elegance. She inhaled slowly, letting memory blend with purpose. Almost there, she murmured. A soft ping echoed through her suit. Earth Command opened a communication channel, the commander's voice steady and low. We await your confirmation, Captain. Entire fleet standing by. Mara lowered her gaze, eyes calm. Maintain position. Not yet. There was no hesitation on the other end. No questioning. Humanity trusted her judgment without needing answers, because she was no longer one widow navigating grief. She had become the focal point of an entire species' intention. Inside the Empire's primary war tower, the Grand Marshal gripped the railings so tightly the metal groaned. His golden armor reflected a fractured version of his fear. We must initiate full-scale shield protocols, he barked. A technician shook her head rapidly. We can't. Their positioning disables our long-range defenses. Another voice chimed in, trembling. They predicted our countermeasures before we activated them. The Marshal slammed his fist down. How? How can they anticipate our moves? The elder senator's voice came quiet, almost reverent. Because they watched us for years. And we never thought to watch them back. The room fell quiet as Mara's recorded message replayed again. Her calm voice, her steady tone, her polite request for the return of her husband's body and the officer responsible. The Marshal hissed. We thought that was grief. The senator shook his head. No. That was a deadline. On the stealth hull, Mara watched the Empire's defense grid shift, flickering in frantic patterns. Her breath fogged the inside of her helmet for half a second before the suit cleared it. She thought of Elias, not the way he died, but the way he lived. His gentle humor, his stubborn optimism, the way he built things to last even when resources were thin. He had taught her that precision could be a kind of kindness, a way to solve problems without unnecessary destruction. She held on to that now. I'm not here to break your world, she whispered toward the glowing sphere. Just your certainty. The human fleet shimmered, decloaking in a synchronized wave that lit the darkness like a second dawn. Hundreds of ships, from slender recon vessels to massive artillery carriers, drifted into visible formation. Gasps echoed across the Empire's capital. This is impossible, someone choked out. How did they build all this? Our scouts never detected anything. Because, the senator answered softly, they intended for you not to. The truth settled heavily. The humans had been preparing not for war, but for inevitability. A transmission pulse cut through the panic. Mara's face appeared in a towering hologram above the capital, a calm, steady expression framed by the void behind her. She spoke gently. Empire Council, you have something that belongs to me. Her voice carried neither anger nor desperation, only clarity. Return my husband's body. Bring forward the officer responsible. Then we talk peace. The room erupted with overlapping arguments, until the marshal silenced them with a trembling hand. We comply. Minutes later, the Empire's military escort arrived at the surface landing platform, carrying a sealed crystalline containment vessel. Inside lay Elias, peaceful as if sleeping. Mara descended from her shuttle, and walked toward him beneath the watchful gaze of soldiers and civilians. She moved slowly, reverently. When she reached the vessel, she laid one hand on its surface, fingers splayed as if memorizing the texture. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I told you I would bring you home. The officer responsible, Dravik's superior, the architect of the firing order, was shoved to his knees before her. He trembled violently. I did not know. You didn't ask, Mara replied softly. No venom. No cruelty. Just truth. He lowered his gaze, unable to meet hers. She studied him for a long, quiet moment before stepping back. You have offered compliance. I offer restraint. The Empire expected execution. Humans expected retribution. Instead, Mara lifted her wrist device and signaled to the fleet. Every human vessel dimmed its weapons, powering down row by row until the formation resembled a constellation of dormant stars. Gasps rippled through both species. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the landing field. This was never about destruction. It was about understanding. Her gaze swept the trembling crowd. You thought humanity was fragile. You thought we were disorganized. You thought our grief made us irrational. Her voice softened even further. But grief clarifies. It reveals what matters. And what matters is that you learn we are not prey. The senator stepped forward, bowing his head. Then teach us, he whispered. A strange sadness crossed Mara's features, quiet, reflective. I wish it hadn't required this lesson, she said. She lifted her husband's vessel into her arms, the weight grounding her. Her voice dropped to a gentle murmur. We didn't come to conquer you. We came to correct you. Behind her, the human fleet shifted into a protective formation around the capital, not threatening but shielding, as if humanity in all its terrifying capability was also offering safety. A message flickered across every Empire screen. Negotiation pending. Mara turned away from the crowd, carrying Elias toward her shuttle with a tenderness that quieted every onlooker. The Empire had expected rage. They had expected fire. Instead they witnessed something far more disarming. Precision married to compassion, vengeance tempered by discipline. And they understood, finally, why humans were feared even when they smiled. As the shuttle ramp lifted, Mara paused, looking back once at the stunned faces watching her. Her voice floated across the silence, soft and final. And this was only the beginning.